blue tape off. Okay, this is your catch tray. This is where the scraps go whenever the printer cuts your ink and cuts your pictures. Okay, once we open it here, you're gonna notice this pink piece of foam. Okay, as you can see on here, it says required for transportation. So make sure whenever you're transporting your printer to and from your event, you make sure to have this in. It actually protects the print head that's in here, which is spring loaded. So all you have to do is just place this foam right here and you close it up. You got to give it a little push so it catches, and now that printer head is not swinging as you're transporting your printer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up. We're going to take this out for now, and I'm going to load up the ink and paper. Now in order to do this, you're going to make sure your printer is on. You got a green light here, and I'm going to take a roll of ink, and I'm going to put the plastic end caps on it. Now if you are running into issues where your printer is jamming up every so often or every other photo, you want to make sure that there's no gaps in between this area right here, in between the paper and the plastic end cap. That will cause jamming issues. Okay, so make sure you pop in the end caps, make sure there's no gaps in there. It's pushed in tightly. Okay, so that looks good. Alright, and then I'm just going to go ahead and drop in the paper. Just like that. Okay, and the roller is going to go forward. The next step is you follow the arrow. It says paper insert. So I'm just going to insert it in there, and it's going to go forward, not down. Once it goes forward through the first piece right here, it's going to go down. And as you can see, this arrow here, it's going to go down. Then you're going to listen for the beep. If you're at an event, it's going to be really loud, so you got to get really close, and you're going to hear the two beeps. Okay. If you don't hear it, take it out again and keep trying until you hear the beep. Next thing we're going to load is the ribbon. Okay, you have your ribbon here. This is a used roll that we're using for this demo. So what you want to always do is match up the yellow to the yellow. Okay, so you're going to put the top piece in, pop that down, bottom piece, pop that in there. And these arrows are right here. A lot of people don't notice it, but these arrows are right here to give you the direction as to which way the ribbon needs to roll. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the ribbon. Okay, and the ink and paper doesn't have to sync. So if you ever had a gig and the ink rips, you know, if it rips on here, I'll get to that in just a second, and you need to fix it, the ink and paper doesn't have to sync up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. Alright, and it's going to do a few cuts to line up the ink and paper. Okay, perfect. Now you're ready for your gig. Alright, now the next thing we're going to cover is if you do get an ink rip in your paper. This could be caused by if a guest pulls it out, or sometimes if there's a jam. So what's going to happen is once you open this area right here would either be melted or it would be ripped. So for this purposes, I'm going to go ahead and rip it. Okay, now you can still save this. This is the great part about this video. I'm going to teach you how to save it. So what you want to do, once again, make sure you're rolling direction of the arrows. So I'm going to roll the top one like that, and I'm going to take the bottom one and I'm going to roll it under and over the top. Okay, so just going to roll it a couple of times just to make sure it's tight, and now you've fixed your ink and paper tear. Now the other thing to do is once you fixed it, you want to go ahead and take this out, and you want to roll up your paper backwards. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to just lift it up, and and put it back in. What this does is this resets the printer system. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and thread it through again. Down, wait for the beeps, there we go. And plug in the ribbon. Okay, roll it up. Just make sure it's just a little tight. And now it's going to reset the printer, and you should be ready to print at your gig. These are just scrap pieces of paper. What it's doing is it's lining it up and cutting out any fingerprints that may have gotten on it. Okay, so now you're ready to rock and roll. The other problem that you may have is if your printer is not printing from your software, you want to make sure to plug in your printer to the correct USB every time. So if you plug it into a different USB on your computer, it is going to create a duplicate printer. At that point, you would need to go back into your software and select the duplicate printer so that the software is printing to the right printer. That's going to be it for your printer tips and tricks today. If you have any questions, feel free to call us at 855-474-6868, or you can check us out at photoboothint.com.
When you do open the printer, and that did pop open while I was playing with it, but when you do open it up for the first time, you do have a little foam pad, okay? And this foam pad says required for transportation, and they mean it, okay? When you go to transport this printer, you need to do a couple things. You need to dump out the shard tray, pull it out from the bottom, dump out these shards. If you do not, during transport, one of these shards can get stuck in the cutter, and if it does, it can break the cutter or jam the cutter. Either way, it's difficult to get out. Also, when you transport the media, when the paper is wound through the printer, it actually can knock out the little sensor that signifies when the paper is loaded. Again, that's bad. And of course, the ribbon is right here, and the print head is right up here. And that's what this pad does. It protects the print head during transport. So you do want to take that ribbon out. That way this will give full control and support for transport. And now let's talk about loading paper and ribbon. This is a slightly partially used roll of paper and ribbon, so it doesn't really matter. When you open it up, paper looks just like this. Put the spools on both sides. Make sure it snaps on there nice and tight. Okay. This just goes in right here. And you do want to load the paper first before you load the ribbon, because the ribbon goes on top. And then what you simply do is once that's in there, just feed it down. Okay. And you listen for the beep. Hope you could hear that. The beep's important because when you load it, that lets you know it's in far enough. One of the things that does happen when it beeps, it not only beeped, it went from this 2 lights to this 1 light. So if you're in a large, or when you're in a loud space, like at a wedding or nightclub or something, and you can't hear it, you can always look for the light to change. Next thing we're gonna do is load the ribbon, okay? And again, the yellow side with the RFID chip just snaps right up here into the yellow spot, so it can't miss it, just fits right in there. And then the other half just fits right down here in the bottom. Then you do want to take out a little bit of the tension there, make sure it's tight in there. And then we're just going to close this. Okay, the first thing it's going to do is going to do alignment sheets. Remember, my grubby hands have been all over this paper. So what it's going to do, it's going to cut out any of the fingerprints, but it's also aligning the paper into the machine. So it's getting it lined up between when it comes out.